So here in front of us, we have math question 19. It's a system of equations problem which we are trying to solve for the value of y. There are really two ways to solve this. I'm going to show you both. One's the more traditional method, that will be the first method, and the second method will just be the method I find a little bit easier to do. So we're going to start out by trying to isolate x in this first equation so that we can then sub it into the other equation. So we'll do that by subtracting 4y and moving to the other side. So this is what we'll have. Then we will divide both sides by -3. So then now that we have x isolated, we can put this value of x into the other equation. And you'll notice here that I've removed the negative signs because they cancel out here. This will also become a negative sign. Because it's being divided by -3. So now we take this x and we'll sub it in for the x here in this problem. So that will look like this. And we'll just take this problem exactly where it is and put it in there. And because it's x has been isolated, we know that x will equal this. We've just kind of removed x from this problem, so now we just have the y variable, which makes it much simpler to solve from. Now it just involves moving the numbers around in the problem to simplify it. This is subtracted by -3y and 0. And I'm going to change this 0.5 to 1/2 so the problem is easier to work with. Then we'll just multiply both by 4, which will end up giving you 16/3 y minus 16/3 minus 3y equals 1/2. Sorry, I don't know what just happened there. Kind of dragged a little bit. And now I'm going to simplify this equation by moving the 16/3 to this side by adding 16/3 to that side. And then I'm going to also, after this step, I will add the y's together and add the numbers without variables attached to them on the other side. But first I'll just move them. So you'll end up with 16/3 y minus 3y equals 1/2 plus 16 16/3. And now I'm not going to go into the specific details. I'm just going to simplify here. But the solution would be to change the denominators to be all the same, so then they would easily be able to add together. What you'll end up with, though, is 7/3 y equals 35 over 6. That's a bad 5. So in this example, we multiplied these both by 3, by 2. My mistake. Multiplied both these by 2. I was looking at the other one. Multiply this by 3, multiply this by 3, and then, so this would equal this, multiply this by 3, multiply this by 3, and then obviously we simplified it after that. But this is what we have now, which is much, much simpler. Now we just have to divide out 7/3, which is done by multiplying each side by 3/7, because that's how you divide with fractions. You just flip over the 7/3, you get the inverse, and multiply both sides by that. So in this case, 3/7, which will end up yielding an answer of y equals 5 seconds, or 2.5 if you prefer decimals. Now, for the alternate method, which I find to be easier, I'm just going to do this above the problem. Now, another thing you can do is you can realize that you can also just get rid of x in another manner, which is if you set both these x's to be the same number and subtract one from the other, and subtract the whole problem from each other. So that would look like this. So in this case, you would take this 3x plus 4y. That equals 4. And the 4x, x minus 3y equals 0.5. And normally you would subtract them from each other, but because this is already a negative here, what you're going to want to do is just basically add this whole problem to that problem after you've made the x's equivalent to each other. So in this case, because we have negative 3 and 4, we have to multiply. If we multiply every single number in this equation by 4, and every single number in this equation by 3, what you will end up with is negative 12x plus 16y equals 16 plus 12x. And you notice what we did here, just to reiterate, is we made it so these two x's will equal each other. So then when we add them both together or subtract them both, depending on the problem, you add them both together, it'll end up equaling 0. So you have to have this, in this case, a positive and negative, that x, that same number. And then just finishing up, this is 9y, and then 1/5. And so when we add these both together, what you'll end up with is you end up with 7y equals 17.5. And then when 7 subtracted from both sides, y will equal 2.5. And again,